long time, Rashi. We're not gonna read all the Rashis, but Rashi's gonna give us like an overview of the historical context that he's talking about. But first, let's take a look at the Malbim, okay? Now to remind us, the Malbim took out the Joker last time. What was the Joker that he pulled out on us? You guys remember what was the Joker? What was the Joker? The Mikdash. Okay, the Mikdash. That's the Joker. In other words, the idea of connecting body and soul, or having a prophetic experience while still in the body or with your bodily functions, and harnessing them for Avodat Hashem. He says that was the whole point of the Mikdash. That's what it was for. The Mikdash is an attempt to say and to actualize Hashem's presence in this world. Okay? There's a prophetic state that was supposed to continue forever. And it's the only way it works. In other words, it doesn't work. From what we've seen until now. What? Right? Oh, but we haven't yet to seen, again, in the Malbim, it was a big chidush, this chapter for us. And this statement that it can be done. That one can actually experience Hashem with your faculties, with your body, with your yitzarim, with your thoughts. So these are all things we haven't seen, and that's what he says now. So I want to go here. So let's read on this paragraph up here. We'll start reading. Ata mevaer. Okay, you got it? Here, right here in the middle. Or sort of like in the middle. Right, sort of in the middle. Yeah, there you go. Ata mevaer. Okay, right. Tochor ratzuf ava. Ata mevaer. You're almost there. There it is. Yeah. Not Yerushalayim. Well, let me give it a reading here. Okay. Did they heat the Beit Midrash or I'm just hot?
I only know how to eat that without.
What? It's more heated than it was, right, in the past.
I feel like better without Nikito sometimes.
Like you see the height in the
Beit without.
Yeah, they turned it on. You think?
Only have it one way with the.
So we have the Mikdash right next to us as we're learning about the Mikdash, so it's beautiful.
The B is for the base, and the hay is for the roof.
Oh,
You see
yafeh.
it with the pillars?
Yafeh. Now I see what you're saying. Yafeh. Beit HaMikdash. All right. Yafeh.
Hashem's castle.
Hashem's house. It's really a house. טוב. אתה מבאר. כי תוכו... שלום. כן, זה באנגלית אבל.
אוקיי.
זה בסדר?
He speaks English.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Okay, great. You're in the group here? You're in the English group?
Actually, like...
Mix. Wonderful. Join. No problem. We're at the very, very last page at the very end. Yeah. So where it is, Ata. טוב, אתה מבאר, כי תוכו רצוף אהבה מבנות ירושלים. Okay, so the last pasuk, the last words of that pasuk is Tocho ratzuf ava b'not Yisrael. We're talking about the apirion she'asa lo melech Shlomo. Remind you guys the pasukim that he's referencing now are the final stage of the building of the Mikdash. The wedding house, he calls it, is the place of the meeting between the spirit, the Hashem's presence, and God's and our neshama, and that happens in Beit HaMikdash. So this is what he's talking about. He's saying inside the Beit HaMikdash, it's Ratzuf Ahava Mibnot Yerushalayim. So you're going to explain what that means. It is what we said. It's like carpeted or paneled with love from the girls of Yerushalayim. The girls of Yerushalayim are always the kochot haguf, are all the powers of the body. So what does this mean? Shesham nimtza areshef, shuhu ha'esh shelamala, shaya ravutz ke'ari. So the dimui, the imagery here is the fire of the Mizbeach, okay? That would be on top of the Mikdash like an aryeh. That's how Chazal said it. The fire was like a lion. So a lion like fire. That that would eat up the love gathered from Bnot Yerushalayim. What does that mean? Shehem kochot hagashmiut, asher nizdachechu el ahavat Hashem min hanafashot haoלות leishim, של מבחר הדומם והצומח והחי עם המשכלת שעלו על מזבח השם לרצון. What happens in the Mizbeach is you take all the korbanot, and they're the most physical things in the world. We said it's the animal, and the plant, and the inanimate, which comes from the salt. Remember, the salt, that was the inanimate. All these objects, you bring to the Mizbeach, and you burn them up, and it goes up to Hashem. That, says the Malbim, is it's not even a metaphor. It's really what happens to humanity when you use all your faculties and all your kochot and all your earthly parts from all the three parts of the body. You guys remember we divide the body into the bottom, middle, and head. You use everything you have and you love Hashem and you send it up to Hashem, then it becomes sanctified. It really can become sanctified. What's supposed to happen in the Mikdash, it's supposed to parallel what happens to us. It's really hard to understand. I feel like I'm saying the words and I'm like, so wait, what does this mean? What does it mean? It's very hard for us to grasp what this was. Because it was a real action that happened in Beit HaMikdash, and it would affect the individual. It would affect an individual who lived there at that time. He would be able to be elevated to an experience of Hashem that is doable in this world. Isn't a Nazir. He's not a monk or a priest who separates from the whole world and has nothing to do with it anymore, which is the first picture we saw in Perek Aleph. No, this is someone in this world who just all of his faculties are go up to Hashem.
As long as you do it with Kavanah or...
There's a lot of kavanah going on here, okay? And there's a lot of things. It's not going to happen like this, for sure. For sure, there's someone who's attempting to bring up his yitzarim, his lusts and his wants and his again, for sure. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen kacha. It doesn't happen when we bring a sacrifice. Boom! Everyone is kadosh and everyone receives prophecy. Mamash not. I hope that was not what I thought. There's a lot of work going on here, and that has been going on here for a whole long time. After all that work, though, it's possible to experience Hashem and in this world, and just complete. That was the point of the Mikdash. The point of the Mikdash was Hashem is with you here. It's like we'd be talking, learning here in Beit Midrash in Machon Meir, and we'd be experiencing Hashem's presence to us in some kind of I don't know how to say it even. על ידי הראיה נשגבה, שהיא הנפש האלוהית המתחברת שם עם דודה שאהבתה כוללת את כולם. עד שבנות ירושלים השתתפו עתה באהבת הדוד עם הראיה. Now the בנות ירושלים join, להשתתף is to participate with the love of the dod עם הראיה. נכון, we said the dod is Hashem, the present, the prophetic experience that is brought from, it's always one that comes from above. You don't have a prophetic experience from yourself, according to the Malbim. It's a prophetic experience from above, meets the pure soul that's trying to strive Lemala, and that combination happens together with Bnot Yerushalayim. Together with Bnot Yerushalayim, for the first time that we've seen that happen, okay? Okay. טוב. וגם המלך שלמה ישכון תוך הפריון שעשה לראיה הזאת, אשר היא המולכת עתה. ולה ובעבורו יעבדו למלך הכבוד השוכן עתה. He says, now, up until now we've called him, there was a melech, right? There was a melech, we've mentioned him in Shir HaShirim. The melech we mentioned, he says the melech was not a good melech. He was the king who was trying to hold on to the city. Remember, defending the city against the spirituality, against the attempts to reach a higher level. But now he calls him the Melech Shlomo. Go look in the Melech Shlomo. Piryon Shasalo Melech Shlomo. Melech Shlomo comes from the word Shalem. Okay, this concept here, there could be Shalem and Shalom between all the different parts of man. This is what we're attempting to do, and that's pretty much what he goes on to say in the next next part also. Tzen Oren Abnot Sion b'Melech Shlomo Batara Shatra Lo Imo. B'yom chatunato, b'yom simchat libo. The last pasuk, go out, the daughters of Zion, and see the king Shlomo and the crown that his mother crowned him with, and he pretty much finishes up with this same concept that this is what we're attempting. There's going to be a transformation of the body into something that is spiritual, and there won't be any battle between this physical and the spiritual anymore. That's where we're going. So this is the end of chapter 3. I shortened the last one for us because I don't want to go into it so much. Chapter 4 is a continuation. Okay, according to the Malbim, Gimel and Dalet are both the same in the same context. We'll see that soon. We'll take a look at that soon. But now what I want to do is go back to Rashi. Okay, so Rashi, I'll remind you guys. All right, Rashi is very, very, very different than the Malbim. All right, the Malbim, for a lot of people who haven't been here from the very beginning, there's a big machloket, there's a big discussion about Shir HaShirim. Okay, what is it about? It's fascinating. So I'll remind you guys Rashi's take on Shir HaShirim. Rashi's take on Shir HaShirim is a song that Shlomo HaMelech wrote in prophecy. What Am Yisrael are going to say when they're in Galut, when they're in exile. It's a reminiscence of what was. And Am Yisrael is reminding us of how beautiful it was and how wonderful it was. And we remember what happened with us. And every so often, there'll be it's funny, a present in the future. Which, remember, Shlomo's talking in Shlomo's time. There's no Galut going on, no exile going on in Shlomo's time. In the very, very far future, there will be Galut, there will be exile. That's what this song is for. And usually it's a song, ki'ilu, as if being sung in exile, remembering what happens in the past. But every so often, suddenly they'll break into their present and say, "Oh, but now we're sad, or now we're waiting, or now we're this." That's the structure of the song.
So they knew about the destruction of the temple that was coming.
Right. So he knew Lichora, right? He's a prophet.
So the entire state of Israel back in the ancient times, when the Beit HaMikdash existed, knew the Beit HaMikdash would eventually be destroyed.
According to Shlomo, if they understood Shir HaShirim correctly, possibly. It's a good question. Right.
It never said in the Torah.
What?
Did it say in the Torah there would be a third temple?
There's a warning. There's a warning that if you don't do what Hashem wants, it will be destroyed. Again, the warning exists. So it's always a warning. Also now, some people would say we're warned also.
Did they ever talk about Mashiach back then, or was that not a thing?
It's a good question. Not much.
So not like today?
Not like today. No.
Wow.
No, not like today. Yeah, and it's very interesting. In other words, what was Shlomo's understanding of himself? Because usually, when we get to Melachim in class, which will be in another long time, Shlomo's time frame is presented, if you hear the sounds, presented as Mashiach time. But Shlomo HaMelech, that's what we want to go back to, for sure. That's like that was the pinnacle of Israeli existence.
No phones,
What?
planes,
Yeah, but I don't think that's what the problem was. What was amazing there was the peace, and everyone coming to learn Torah from Shlomo, learn Chokhmah from Shlomo, viewing Yerushalayim as the epicenter of the moral, spiritual world. That's what we're looking for, I think. That's what we use. We use what it says, the Psukim in Shlomo, to see what we want, what we're expecting. So it's an interesting question. But again, Rashi's take is that's what Shir HaShirim is. Shir HaShirim is a futuristic statement that is being said in exile. The whole Perushi does like that. And most of it's a reminiscence. So most of it's referencing things in the past. The first two chapters, as we saw, was usually referencing Yetziat Mitzrayim. That was like the most of what we saw. Kriyat Yam Suf, like we saw in this parsha, the man, the Moshe and Aaron, a lot of references there. Every so often, little shoots off the Mishkan. There were things. This chapter, he's moving ahead a little further into the future, but he goes back and forth. Rashi does with this chapter. So yeah, now it would be good if you guys had the Psukim open. Okay, I'll also open mine because with Rashi, it goes much quicker than the Malbim. You have it? Great. Oh, you have it there. Safari is pretty good. So.
No, I have it. Oh, right.
These two are very cool.
Here's one. It's only Hebrew one.
Yeah, no. Me too.
Well, you have Safari there, so you're good. You
I
good?
could do both. Like,
Beseder.
no. I know. I have my one here.
So,
Okay, good.
so,
That's Olive.
so, let's read a couple psukim and then go into Rashi. Okay? Al mishkavi balelot. I'm reading the psukim themselves. Al mishkavi balelot. Bikashti et shava nafshi bikashti velo matzati. So machloket here whether this is a dream or an actual thing that happens. As I'm lying on my bed at night, I searched for my beloved. I searched, I couldn't find him. Akumana. Let me get up. Vasovava ba'ir. I'm going to walk around the city. Bashvakim uvarchovot. In the markets, in the streets. Avakshat shava nafshi. I'm going to search for my beloved. Bikashti velo metzati. I searched for him and I couldn't find him. All right, there's a bit of tension mounting here. As she's searching for her beloved, she can't find him. Mitzauni hashomrim hasovavim ba'ir. Et shava nafshi ritem. Right, the guards who are going around the city, they found me, and I asked, "Did you find my beloved, or have you seen my beloved?" Kimat shavarti mehem. Right, I leave them. Ad shematzati et shava nafshi. Till I found my beloved. Achazti velo arpenu. I grab him and I don't let go of him. Ad sheveti ver bet imi ver cheder horati. Until I bring him to the house of my mother and the room of my birth. Ishbati etchem benot Yerushalayim b'tzvaot u'bayalot haseda im teiru v'im toreru et ahava ad shetechpatz. I've sworn you, the daughters of Yerushalayim, through the deer or the gazelles of the field, if you awaken the love until it is time, or until it's willing, or we want it to be. That's different perushim of what ad shetechpatz means. So that's the basis. So this song is sort of short, and it actually has a beginning and an end. It makes sense, right? I woke up looking for, or I dream, or I'm looking at night for my beloved, can't find her, can't find him, and then I find him, and then I'm holding on to him, and I'm not letting him go until I bring him home. And I'm telling you guys, im ta'ir v'im toreru. It seems to be the pshat, even though we saw the Malbim explains differently. Don't mess this up, okay? Now that the love has been awakened, don't knock it off. Don't stop it.
Do you ever wake up and you feel like what you said here is she thought she woke up and she didn't know where her husband was?
It's not a husband.
Oh.
Not a husband yet. It's her beloved. It's the one she loves. Her fiance.
All right. So
I don't know. Whatever.
Do people ever wake up and they feel like they're in the wrong room? They feel like they woke up in a completely strange place. They don't know where they are.
Are you asking if it ever happened to me, or do people ever?
You or people?
I don't know if other people do. I don't remember that dream specifically, but I imagine sounds like something that could happen.
You generally wake up not in a dream. You just wake up and you're like,
where am I?
Yeah, you don't remember where you are.
It doesn't happen to me. I don't remember. I imagine it didn't happen to anyone else.
It happened to me recently because I switched to the side. I slept the other way, like on the other end of the bed. I woke up and the wall was on the wrong side. And I was like, what's going on?
There you go. It could happen. I guess it could happen. Okay. So let's go into Rashi. Okay. Al mishkavi balelot, says Rashi, but tzarli she'ashavti afela kol 38 shana. You guys see it, the first Rashi. You have? No, you look with me. Shayu Yisrael nizufim. Okay? So Rashi says this situation of lying in the bed and not finding your beloved, Rashi says is the 38 years in the desert where Hashem didn't appear to Am Yisrael. Just a quick so we know what he's talking about.
They wandered in the desert for 38 years without Hashem guiding them.
Without Hashem talking to them, guiding. They guiding because of Chet HaMeraglim. After Chet HaMeraglim, the spies, according to the Midrash, Hashem didn't talk to Moshe for 38 years until he talks the first year, the second year, and then the 38 in the 40th year.
Did they know Hashem was playing the shun game on them?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Did like the entire state, or did the entire nation of the Hebrews, of the Israelites at that time, believe in the spies that were saying negative things about the land?
Too many of them.
Not all of them, though. Surely not.
Well, we know 2 spies didn't agree, and but the rest were. So anyway, but Hashem takes them as a whole nation, and they're. So that's so this period of time when I'm searching for Hashem and I can't find Him, says Rashi, is referencing a specific time frame when Am Yisrael was looking for Hashem in the desert and they couldn't find Him. Okay, because He's not with them. He's quoting things of that's after Chet HaEgel HaEmet. And then Akumana. Now I get up and I start looking. And Rashi reads here, this is Moshe Rabbeinu begging Hashem for forgiveness. Okay? Bitzauni Hashomrim. So then the guards found me. Now here's it's a great example of a machloket parshanim. The Malvim talks about the guards as bad things, right? As the guards who are trying to stop him from leaving the city. She's trying to attain prophecy, leave the city. Here, Rashi says, who are the guards? Who are Am Yisrael's guards? Moshe and Aaron. The greatest that it could be. These are our helpers, okay? And we went to ask him, and we asked them, what is Hashem saying? What is Hashem saying? We're asking Moshe and Aaron. This is a ti'ur that Am Yisrael is remembering. They're now in exile, right? Remember, hundreds of years in the future here for our purposes. Our purpose is the galut of Beit Rishon, or maybe even Beit Sheni. Am Yisrael's in galut. And they're remembering, wow, do you remember when we were shunned by Hashem? And we begged Moshe and Aaron to come and help us, right? And find something. Kimat she'avarti mehem, karov leprishatam mimeni lesof 40 shana. So then, at 40 years, and we're begging them, what does Hashem say? What does Hashem say? Ad shematzati. We found him. Who was the one we found? Yoshua. Ad shematzati sheyai mi bimei Yoshua lichvosh 31 melachim. I found Hashem in the time of Yoshua. Hashem helped us suddenly. Hashem was with us.
In the time of
Joshua. In the time of Yoshua. Now, I just want to say that it's a fascinating historical reading of it's like a perush on the Torah almost. This is the midrash here. Rashi is based on the midrash pretty much. It's pretty much flat out midrash. But Rashi is saying Shir HaShirim Rabbi is a massive volume. Shir HaShirim is very small, but it's massive Shir HaShirim, which makes sense because it's so allegorical that is like perfect place for a midrash. But it's really, really big. When I was going to prepare the shiur, I said maybe I'll teach Shir HaShirim Rabbi and I'll bring that in. I say I can't do that. I can't handle it. It's too much. I didn't even know where to start. Rashi pretty much brings a lot of the midrash. Rashi chooses which midrash to bring. Obviously, it's much shorter than the midrash. But Rashi's reading as a historical page. So in a sense, this is a perush. Listen to the double perush that's going on here. Shlomo HaMelech, in a prophetic book, according to the midrash, is giving a perush on Shmot, or on the Torah. It's very interesting. In other words, we're getting a perush of Shlomo on the Torah. It's fascinating how things are like moving, future, past, what's happening here. All right? But according to this, Am Yisrael were desperately afraid that they're going to lose Hashem. That's what they're scared. When they wake up at night and there's no Hashem, they're very scared. And when Moshe and Aaron die, I think that's part of this thing. They're like, oh my gosh, who's going to save? I found the Shomrim, but the Shomrim, avarti avtam. I passed by the Shomrim. That's it, they're gone. That moment in time, when the Shomrim are gone, and they're not sure what's going on, that's sort of what Moshe Rabbeinu, if you guys remember in Bamidbar, right before Moshe Rabbeinu dies, Moshe begs Hashem, please put someone good on the nation. Remember, Moshe's scared, they're scared of that moment. What's going to happen when Moshe and Aaron die? And Yoshua comes in there. So Yoshua comes in as the one who takes that place. Ad shematzati et she'ava nafshi, Yoshua represents Hashem in Eretz Yisrael. Now what does he do? He grabs them, right? Ad shechaztiv, nachon? Right, what does it say in Pasuka Daled? Kimat shavarti mehem. I went over from mehem, who are mehem, Moshe and Aaron. Ad shematzati et she'ava nafshi. I found Hashem through Yoshua. Achaztiv velo arpeno. I hold on to him. Who are they holding on to here? We could say either Yoshua or Hashem. That's what he says. He's holding on to Hashem. Lo natati lo rifyon. I didn't allow him any leeway. Ad sheviotiv el mishkan Shilo. Bishvil kol zot she'asali. I bring him to Shiloh. Shiloh, what?
City.
Shiloh is the place where the Mishkan was, where they built the Mishkan. The second, after the Mishkan from the desert, they build the Mishkan. The Mishkan in Shiloh, you guys remember, it's a half stone, half Yeriot. The cover was like the cover of the Mishkan in the desert, but the walls were made of stone. It's very interesting in between. The Mishkan is the tabernacle. Is that what you say?
The Ark of the Covenant.
No, so it's the building itself. That house is all the vessels.
Let's see, in a few weeks or so, we'll learn more about it.
In where? Oh yeah, Nachon, very soon. You're coming here.
3 weeks?
3 weeks, yep. You're going to be there in a minute, Nachon. Right, so hold on to the 3 weeks. In 3 weeks you'll learn it. Yitro, Mishpatim. Truma, 3 weeks. You'll be there. But we're talking about the base that was it's not that mikdash that we see in the picture there. It was a different kind of mikdash, okay, a smaller one. Okay, bishvil kol zot she'asali, and then there's a break. Okay, now here's a break. Remember I told you guys that he has breaks in the middle. Okay, so he's reminiscing, or whoever, the Am Yisrael are reminiscing of the past, and they're saying, that's when we had Hashem in the Mishkan. Now, says Rashi, there's a break. Hishbati etchem benot Yerushalayim is not the continuation of the story. It is a break. And there Am Yisrael turn to the Goyim and they say, get off our case. Ready? Look what he says. Hishbati etchem ha'umot beheyoti gole benechem. I turn to you, the umot ha'olam. When I am in exile there, okay, with them, and I say them, im ta'iru v'im toreru, אהבת דודי ממני על ידי פיתוי והסתה לעוזבו לשוב מאחוריו עד שתחפץ בעוד שאהבתו חפץ עליי. Says it, don't try to tempt me to leave my God, the one I'm reminiscing about. You, the Goyim, that's what you're doing to me here in the Galut. You're trying to tempt me and move me off. I swear, stay away from me. That's what he's saying. So there he's saying, Ishbati etchem benot Yerushalayim im ta'iru. Don't try to stop this love from Hashem. And again, you have to feel the angst. This story is it's mind-boggling. Rashi talking in the Midrash. We'll bring Rashi in this case, talking in the 11th century, in the heart of the Crusades. Okay, in this statement that Rashi says, stay away. Hashem, we love Hashem. Don't ruin our love for Hashem. Don't try to tempt me with your false gods. Don't try to tempt me with your false culture. Don't pull me away. Stay away. We remember our connection to Hashem. We remember that is the yesod of our national consciousness. This is what the song of Shir HaShirim is the emotional part, the emotional connection to our historical story.
Amen.
What? Zechariah, mamash kacha. It's the emotional connection to the historical story. That Hashem is Echad. Part of it. That's what we say when we say Shema Hashem Echad. But also, it's just putting the historical context. We read this story not as it's funny. It's reading our history, not as history, as it's a love story. The story of Am Yisrael with Hashem is a love story between Hashem and Am Yisrael. Yes, goes good, goes bad. It has ups and downs. But this is what we remember and go. This is what keeps our fortitude going. We said this in the beginning when we learned about Rashi, and it comes here very powerfully. Okay, in the middle. So these psukim, this pasuk, hey, right? Ishbati etchem benot Yerushalayim is a break in the narrative, according to Rashi. It's not part of the story. It stops, and it's the real story. This is what I said: how the present breaks into the reminiscence of the past. So you have to understand the power of this statement. Shir HaShirim, when Am Yisrael read Shir HaShirim, and they read Shir HaShirim, and you would read it every Pesach, or whatever when the Minhagim would be. The Sephardim don't read on Pesach, but the Sephardim reading every Shabbos, every Erev Shabbos. Now, this idea of reading Shir HaShirim was an awakening of the love that we have for Hashem, realizing now that we're in exile, and none of this is going on. Pretty much we feel barren and we feel left off. We feel like we've been thrown away, which we sort of have. But we remember the way it was, and we're hoping it will be. That's really that's what Shir HaShirim is about, according to Rashi. It's a song of remembrance in a positive sense, I would say, like sort of like Eicha is a remembrance in a negative way. We remember what happened and why it happened. The Shir HaShirim is remember how wonderful it was and what we still hope to get. Okay?
Is Rashi a prophet?
No.
No, Rafi is a commentary, but yeah, rabbi. Yeah, great rabbi in France 1,000 years ago. It's amazing to say 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago.
France existed 1,000 years ago.
France
Yeah, like
existed 1,000 years
13th,
ago.
14th century, right?
No, the 11th century.
The 11th?
Yeah. Rashi's one of the first
That's
Rishonim.
900 years ago.
Not making prophecies,
Wait,
guys.
if France existed then, I thought it was a
Yeah.
Scotland.
No.
France existed. I don't know what, if it wasn't. It wasn't the tricolor as we know today, but there was a France that had a.
Maybe a small little witchcraft village.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looked like,
You know
but there
how
was a
those
city.
pagans were back then?
There were Christians then, but yeah.
Rashi had
Yeah.
Ruach HaKodesh.
Oh yeah, I would say that. But what level? I don't give out grades on levels of Ruach Hakodesh. I don't know what. Rashi's Rashi. Listen, I say I love to say this when I learn Rashi. I know Rashi more than I know my next door neighbor. No, I'm serious. I'm not joking. I spend more time with Rashi than I spend time with sometimes my family. Someone who learns Torah, you're in Torah. Rashi he's your buddy. You learn him all the time. He's right there. You learn what he says to you. What would be the difference is if you're hearing me, open a book, you'll hear Rashi. He's right there. He's everywhere in any book you open almost. You have Rashi there. It's the power of Torah. In that sense, in the generational gap of Torah, or not gap of Torah, the generational spread of Torah, if Rashi would come here right now and sit down, he could teach us. We understand what he says. What interests him interests us. He'd be able to sit here and give you a shir. Give us a shir. Give us a shir. And we sit there. What?
Did they have shul?
They had yeshivas. He was a Rosh Yeshiva.
Seriously?
For 100%.
Wow, I didn't realize.
They had yeshivas 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago, I just taught a story. Rabbi Gamliel, there was a Beit Midrash. They sit and they learn Torah.
When the first yeshiva was like the late 1700s in Germany, wasn't it?
What? What?
Like the first year, like
The yeshiva, the big modern yeshiva, like you guys have, that you sleep in the place and they feed you. Velozhin, that happened. That's smart. But of course there were yeshivas. That's where people led. And the Gemara talks about, of course, Yeshua learned. The Rambam, in the very beginning of the Pirush, the Akdam of the Mishnah, that's what he says. There was a yeshiva. They sat down. Moshe comes down with the Torah, and he teaches in yeshiva. He has guys sitting to his right, to his left. He teaches Am Yisrael. He teaches Moshe and Aaron. He teaches Aaron and then our own sons and the Sanhedrin. And they, mamash, kacha. The Rambam says learning Torah was from day one. Day one. In Am Yisrael, from then on. Pretty much like what we're doing now. Not that different. Be'emet, not that different. Different, maybe still different ways of learning, but pretty much sitting here. Be'emet, the Rambam could come here and and he'd be able to teach us a shir. You would understand what he's saying. I mean, probably we wouldn't understand because it's too complex, but he could have. Yeah, the Rambam could teach in Hebrew too, and so could Rashi.
English.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if they could speak English. But they could teach in Hebrew with pristine Hebrew that was better than our
It
Hebrew.
was probably Shakespeare's type of English.
Well, it's before Shakespeare, 500 years. No, I don't think anyone there spoke English. I don't know if anyone spoke English. He spoke French. Rashi spoke French, and the Rambam spoke Arabic. He had Arabic.
What about
'cause
Aramaic?
Aramaic.
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
they could teach
Aramaic
Aramaic.
translations now.
They could teach Aramaic.
Yeah.
They could probably do it in Aramaic, the Yushalmi Aramaic, and the Bavli Aramaic. They could probably
You wanna know
speak to you.
something funny? The Arabs can't speak Aramaic, but they claim they're more belonging to the.
Yeah, they're Aramaic.
There's a lot of words in Arabic I've heard that are like they're Aramaic words.
Yeah, for sure. But they're in Hebrew. They're all Semitic languages.
It's all Semitic, but the Jews can still understand Aramaic in some ways.
Well, if you learn Gemara, then you can. The people who learn Gemara,
It teaches Aramaic and Gemara.
Gemara it's in Aramaic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the Gemara is in
So you
Aramaic.
have to learn Aramaic.
So you have to know a good amount of words in Aramaic.
Wow.
Yeah. There's lots of
Aramaic.
most of it. It's not all, but most of it.
No, it's
Well,
really like
you're opening brachot, supposed to
Let me
be.
see.
Listen,
Aramaic.
listen. One second. No. Another side. So let's go on. Okay, listen. Okay. Now he goes back. Okay. Now he goes back to Rashi goes back. Like Pasuk Vav is already going back to the story of the desert, just like the beginning was the desert. So he goes back to the beginning of the desert. So let's take a look. Mizot olam min hamidbar, ki timrot ashan, mekuteret mor ulevona mikol avkat roche. Who is that who comes up from the desert. So obviously, Olam Midbar. Oh, that reminds us of the desert. Okay, Mizot Olam Midbar, Ketimrot Ashan. That remind you guys of anything? Like smoke coming up. So these are a lot of metaphors that just our Parshat Shavua, Amud Anan that goes back and forth, right? It's pretty much a Mikuteret Mor Ulevona Nikol of Katrochel, more on the vonar, the spices from the Ktoret, from the incense. And these psukim shout out. We know these kinds of words. We know this connected to stories we have that we're going to be learning now in Shmot, in Vayikra. But in our context, he's saying, who is that coming up from the desert, like smoke, with spices and incense? Hine mitato. These psukim are a little harder. Hine mitato shel Shlomo shishim giborim savivla migiborei Israel. Around the bed of Shlomo, there are 60 heroes around it from the heroes of Israel. Hulam achuzei cherev mulumdei milchama. Ish charbo yericho mipachad belilot. All of them are holding on to swords. They've learned how to fight. Ish charbo yericho mipachad belilot. Each one of them has a sword on his thigh from the fear of the nights. So the Malbim did interesting stuff with these things, right? He talks about the body parts, the 60 body parts that hold back, and these are all negative in the Malbim's reading. The Rashi reads it in positive. Let's see what Rashi does with this. Again, we just read 3 psukim. It doesn't seem like there's any connection between the first one and the second two. The first one's talking about someone coming up from the desert. Wow, like a smoke, like a pillar of smoke, whose beautiful smells. And then suddenly, Shlomo's bed has 60 heroes around it who are defending it from the things. Well, let's take a look. So Rashi's going to explain what's going on, okay? Mizot olam min hamidbar. Kshayiti me'alechet b'midbar. Ve'aya amud ha'esh v'anan holchim lefanai. והורגים נחשים ועקרבים ושורפים קוצים וברקנים לעשות הדרך מישור. והיה ענן ועשן עולים ורואים אותן האומות ומטמיעות על גדולתי ואומרות מי זאת? כלומר כמה גדולה היא זאת העולה מן המדבר. So this Rashi is saying, like it sounds like, who says מי זאת עולה מן המדבר? Who asks, who is that coming up from the desert? The umot ha'olam. The nations, when did they say that? In the desert, when we were coming out with magic. With miracles, not magic, with miracles happening in full view of everyone. They saw that, wow, who is this? My greatness was recognized, says Hashem, in the desert. Or we say, Hashem's greatness was recognized in the desert. Mikuteret Mor, Hashem Anana Ktoret. Right? So here it is, the Ktoret that comes up from the Mizbeach. Okay, Rochel, B'Shem HaMocher, Kol Minei Besamim. So all these are talking about the Ktoret. Now there was a beautiful smell, and there was the Ktoret that would go up. It says, guys say the Ktoret would go up in a straight line, straight up. These were miracles that were happening that would be experienced and seen by others. Now, what is the mitah of Shlomo? So again, the Malbi went one way. What's the bed?
The bed is like going out, like a tunnel going out, and this security is like the one who's letting the soul of the body go in?
No, leave the Malbi. No, they're Rashi. Yeah. You remember too well. No, the mitah shel Shlomo. So what's the mitah when we talk about the bed? When we talk about the Mishkan, what's the bed? Kodesh HaKodeshim. We say the Mishkan is a house. Remember, the Mishkan is a house. So he said that also. The Malbim also talked about this. But that's pretty much everyone agrees. The bed is the Kodesh HaKodeshim. Look, Hinei mitato shel Ohel Moed va'aron shayu nosim b'midbar. Shishim giborim savivla. Shishim ribo savivla. Okay, who are Shishim giborim? 60 of 10,000s. Ribo, 600,000 of Am Yisrael around the thing. Okay. Giborei Israel, Miyotzei Tzava, right? Was it who are the 600,000 from the Giborei Israel? They're the soldiers. That's who they say. Okay, so what about these people? This is the picture that we have. The Mizbeach is going, the Amud Anan is moving ahead, and it's all surrounded from the armies of Israel. Milumdei milchama. Look how Rashi reads this. Milchamta shel Torah. What we're reminiscing here is this glory of Am Yisrael walking in the desert and having this troop of Torah scholars encircling the Mishkan and walking together, learning Torah, learning Avodah, the Kohanim, teaching the Seder Avodah. Ish Charbo. So what's a cherev for a Talmid Chacham? Klei Zaino, his weapons. What are his weapons? Hen masoret v'simanim shemamidim al yadam et hagirsa v'masorah shelo tishkachach. The weapons are all the tools to keep the masoret going. The simanim and the girsaot, to how you say the psukim and how you read the psukim, how you sing the psukim, how you stop the psukim. All the perushim of this is what Am Yisrael is doing. They're keeping the Torah, they're keeping the Brit, they're keeping the covenant with Hashem in the desert. Mipachad balelot pen yishgachua ve'avo alehem sarot. What is the fear? The fear is that they'll forget the Torah. And if you forget the Torah, then you're open to attack. What did we just read now? Refidim. Nachon? Am Yisrael are in Refidim. Now, if Amalek, the last thing we just read in the Torah on Shabbos. What is Refidim? Says Rashi, says the Midrash, Sherafu yedehem me'atorah. They weaken their hold in the Torah. This Midrash is in the same idea. The Torah is what holds us together, what keeps us strong. You breach that, and you're in trouble. The camp of Israel going together was Torah in the way it should be, encircling the Mishkan. All this we remember. We remember. Okay, again, remember. This is it's like a movie, right? Or like these flashbacks. These are flashbacks. We remember. This is what it was in the desert.
So why not rebuild the Mishkan?
Good question.
Why is the government holding back? Why don't they rebuild it?
I'm voting for you.
It's all
We don't know. A real answer, I don't know.
Why are they holding back? What's there to lose?
Well, they're not religious.
Like the rabbis run the government. Come on.
Not halvai that you would be right. Even though, but I want us to point out another thing. I just always throw it in. It's important to know and remember that even when the Mikdash was built, there were bad times. The Beit Rishon, if you look at most of Sefer Melachim, it's a catastrophe. Kings doing bad, kings doing this. It's not that the Mikdash is a solution in itself. The Mikdash is an epitome of an ideal situation. The Mikdash is an epitome of an ideal situation. It's not. It's here, Ashton. It's important what I'm saying. The Mikdash isn't an answer. It's not a band-aid. You don't put it there and everything will be okay. Because we had a Mikdash and things weren't okay, and it was destroyed. Okay, the Mikdash doesn't stand on itself.
Then how will it be better?
That's why it can't happen right now. Okay, that's all I can't. It can happen if Hashem wants to, but we have to realize that there's a social and spiritual movement that has to happen together with the Mikdash. Okay, to say, the Mikdash is going to come and then everything will be fine, that has not proven to be the case, neither in Beit Rishon nor in Beit Sheni. It's not going to solve the problems. Right. Am Yisrael has to be fixed individually, as a nation, as a society, and together with the Mikdash. It always goes together. That's pretty much what the prophets yell about throughout. The prophets who lived in the time when there was a Beit HaMikdash, that's what they say. Yirmiyahu, Yeshayahu, Yechezkel, they're always saying, listen, Rabotai, the fact that there is a Mikdash is wonderful, but you must also be doing the proper service of God in the Mikdash and between yourselves and between the Ben Adam Lechavero. B'miuchad society, as a society. So let's go on. Okay, let's finish this up, and then I think we'll stop.
Never be ready enough.
But how on earth is the entire Jewish nation going to come closer to Torah? All of
That's
this,
happening right now.
Machon Meir.
Bring everyone to Machon Meir. That's
but
the job.
they couldn't fit everybody.
When we get to the problem, there's room up there. We'll put extra seats.
And Machon Meir is so underrated. It
Has always been like this.
Yeah, there's so listen. I don't know what to say. I laugh, but your question's a good question. I laugh, but your question's a good question. How do we get Am Yisrael closer to Torah and mitzvot?
I think this is the question that I asked before. It says that before there's like mamash talmid chachamim like gedolim, like very very smart, and nowadays we don't have this. But the knowledge has been spread to all the Jewish people.
Okay.
What we need to do
That's
is-
what Cook says.
What we
Yeah.
need to do, we need to promote Zionism, but not by itself, because Zionism by itself is going to cause misleaded arguments. If you bring Torah into the Zionism and you combine it together, that's called Judaism. And when you spread Judaism around the world, throw big flags in the air, the ZOB flags they used in World War II. The Jewish resistance movement in World War II against the Nazis used a blue and white flag. The bottom half was blue and the top half was white. And the same with Magen David, it was like a mirage. And that flag should be used for Israel because it can be used as our representation as a movement.
And things like that. But I would say more so, it has to be worked on the individual level, on the people. We people be someone will look at you and say, I want to be like him. That's pretty much the best way. I want to be like him. I want to be like him. I want to be like him. I want to follow what. If this guy learned that, and that's how he became that, I want to learn that too.
So Mashiach can be a person who can inspire all the Jewish people.
Okay.
Well, they said it is.
Yeah, some kind of movement. That's why the Rabbi had some kind of fore on these kinds of things. Someone who's trying. But again, this is way past our scope right now. So let's come back here for a second. Apir Yon. Okay, so we're in the last psukim here. We're in the last psukim here. Tet to Yud Aleph. Apir Yon asalo amelech Shlomo matzel Levanon. Now we're talking about the wedding canopy that he's building. So Melech Shlomo made it from Matzel Levanon, from the cedars of Lebanon. Amudav asa kesef. His pillars were made out of silver. Refidato zahav, the padding from gold. Merkavo argaman, the seating was made out of argaman, which is a sort of a purplish royal kind of color. The inside it is paneled by the love of Bnot Yerushalayim. Tzena ur'ena Bnot Zion v'Melech Shlomo. Go out, the girls of Zion, and go see this King of Shlomo. Batarash ita imo b'yom chaltunato b'yom skivato. In the crown that he was crowned by his mother on his wedding day and the day of his happiness. What is this referencing? Okay, now you see this is broken into parts. So as Rashi is going through this different historical reminiscence, what he's talking about. So Apiryon ze Oel Moed shenikva b'mishkan Shiloh. Okay, so now we're going back. We continue. We left the desert already. We're in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so this is talking about the Mishkan Shiloh, which was sort of like a wedding house. Okay, and it had gold from the kaporet and arkaman, which was the parochet, and tocho ratzuf sidur b'ritzpat ahava aron v'kaporet v'kruvim v'luchot. There is a ritzpat, the way he says, is a retzef, a continuum of love. The aron and the kaporet and the kruvim and the luchot. All that is inside, tocho, right? Inside it. Within is Ratzuf Ahava. Inside the Ark of the Covenant, there are a lot of things that all of them are... Yeah, but I'll say in a second, but all of them are saying the love that Hashem has. So what do we have? We have the Aron, and inside are the Luchot, are the tablets, and on top is the Kaporet, which was the golden covering, and on the top of the Kaporet are the Kruvim, the cherubs on the top. All those are bituim, are ways or methods that Hashem shows His love for Am Yisrael. Okay, Bibnot Yushalayim Elu Yisrael Yerei Mushlimim Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Bnot Yushalayim, as opposed to the Malbim, we did not like Bnot Yushalayim. These are Israel, the good Jews of who are fearful of God. Okay. Bnot Zion, Banim Shemitzviyim Lo, B'Milah Utfilin Tzitzit. What are Bnot Zion? He plays with the word Zion, as opposed to Zion like Zion. Zion like a sign, like a tziyun, like something that is marked. So how are we marked? Mila, Tfilin, Tzitzis. That's our marks, right? We're all marked here. We're all marked here. So it's marked. We're all marked with other things we have. We don't have to fill it on right now. Okay? And Batarashi Tralo Imo and Oel Moed. Okay? Now, Rashi here brings a fascinating. Well, let's finish up 1 second. He goes back for a second. B'yom chatunato is Matan Torah, and Yom Simchat Libo is the day the Mishkan was initiated. So those are these two things he says. Again, Rashi, part of the problem with Rashi's Perush here in Shir HaShirim, he's all over the place. In other words, we were just in Mishkan Shiloh. How do we go back to Matan Torah a second ago? So that's what's part of what's hard learning Rashi here. He's not. It's sort of like we remember. It's very haphazard. Boom, 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 boom. Things. Sometimes it goes by seder, and sometimes it's remembering other things. So according to Rashi, it seems like the songs here aren't necessarily in order. These are songs that we sung in the exile. But on this one place here on Batarashi Yimo and El Cheder Imi El Cheder Horati, Rashi brings an interesting midrash. You guys, look here on the big part. This is the last thing we'll do tonight. Amar Rabbi Nechonya. You guys see this at the end of the first line. Amar Rabbi Nechonya. Sha'al Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai et Rabbi Elazar beRabbi Yossi. Okay, so we're talking about Rashbi, right? Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai asking Rabbi Elazar beRabbi Yossi. If אפשר ששמעת מאביך מהו שהתרה לו עמו. He says, maybe Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai asked Rabbi Elazar, do you know maybe your father said something about what this pasuk means? Shitra lo imo, right? The last pasuk here. Batara shitra lo imo b'yom chatunato b'yom simchat libo. So I just want to point out that there are a couple different people here mentioned in these psukim. We have Bnot Yerushalayim, we have Bnot Zion, we have a mother in this case. We also, previously in Pasuk Daled, until I bring him to the house of my mother and the room of my birth. So there's daughters and there's mothers. What's going on here? So what is Amarlo Mashal Melech Shaitalo Bat Yechida? It's a parable. He answers him in a parable. There's a parable to a king who had a lone daughter. And he loved her so much. Lo zaz michibeva ad shekera'a biti. He didn't move from her love until he called her my daughter. Shneimar shem'i bat uri'i. A pasuk in Tehillim. He calls her daughter. Lo zaz michibeva ad shekera'a achoti. He didn't leave from her love until he called her my sister. Shneimar pitchili achoti rayati. Here in Shir HaShirim. Lo zaz michabeva ad shekara imi. He didn't leave the love until he called her his mother. Shneimar shimi elai ami uleumi elai hazini uleimi. Uleimi kativ. Right? It says uleumi. They don't read leumi. They read leimi. Amad Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai v'nashko al rosho. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai got up and gave him a kiss on his head. Said, "Wow, an amazing midrash." So, first of all, it's an interesting midrash, right? At first, the love is so powerful. He calls her my daughter, and then my sister, and then my mother. And there's all their beloved, right? There's all his daughter. Remember, a king who has a daughter that he loves so much, but he calls her daughter, my sister, my mother. What in the world is going on here? This midrash is very weird. So I saw an interesting pirush of the Gra, who talks about this is a relation to the Torah, and he explains it like this. At first, the Torah, or it's more or learning Torah process. That there is a Rav who teaches a student at first. At first, it's a yachas of father to daughter. I'm the Rav, I'm going to teach you, you're the daughter, you have to listen and learn. After you learn for a long time, then you already become an equal to the Rav in a sense. You're equal, you're asking questions, you're talking, you're answering, then you become learning partners, sort of like a chavruta, an achot. The highest level, the student becomes the teacher. And the teacher learns from the student. And that's a hipuch, then you become like my mother, like imi. So I think it's a First of all, it happens in Torah. It happens in Torah, Baruch Hashem. It happens that students grow and they have different teacher and students have different relationships that go back and forth. Sometimes you learn from, sometimes you teach, sometimes you're on equal footing, as a picture. I'm sure there's Kabbalistic overtones here, okay? I'm 100%. There's Rashbi asking, it's not Pashut, Bishmun Bar Yochai. Most of what he says has
What's Flag Bomer, right?
Rashbi is the Zohar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, most of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai has hidden meanings and double meanings, and there are Kabbalistic ideas behind these ideas of Imi and BT. So I'm sure there are other Perushim. That's how the Gra explains this specific statement. But it's fascinating for me that Rashi brings this. Okay, why does Rashi bring this midrash? Right, we just read a whole chapter of Rashi. Okay, we read pretty much everything Rashi said. They're short, most of the things. And here Rashi said, you know what? I'm going to bring you the whole midrash, right? About an aspect that doesn't seem to be so important. But I want to say, I think in Rashi's thinking, there may be a statement of our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu has many different parts or very different relationships. There are times when we are a daughter, right? In the king in this case, right? It's the king talking. The king is usually Hashem in the Midrashim. So Hashem is the king. He loves his daughter. Who's his daughter in this case? Israel, us. So Hashem himself calls us a daughter. He calls us a sister. And he calls us a mother. That's already it's pushing things interesting into interesting positions, right? But I think in this case we have these three relationships with Hashem. And when are we his mother? That's obviously the weirdest one, right? As opposed to there's a mother when we have to bring Dvar Hashem into the world. In other words, there are times when without us, who's going to yell out Hashem's name in the world? Who's going to bring it, right? When Hashem says, Atem Edai Neum Hashem, you are my witnesses, Hashem says, Atem Edai, you are my witnesses. That place, in a sense, we birth Hashem, the Havdil. Okay, I'm not saying the same, but without us, no one's going to see Hashem. If we don't present Hashem as we should be, by the way, when we don't act as Am Yisrael should, it's a huge chilul Hashem. We're not presenting Hashem as he should be presented. But there is an element of our connection to Hashem as almost responsible for Hashem. Okay? Hashem can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? But what he wants us to do is be his representatives in the world. And part of his representatives has this responsibility for Hashem. Sort of like a mother has a responsibility for a child to make sure the child comes out okay or does what he should be doing. In this case, we have to make sure that we're presenting HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the proper way. It's a little risque. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai tends to have these things that are a little not the normal way we see things. But I think there's an important understanding here that in a sense, I think Chabad talks about En Melech Belo Am, right? There's no such thing as a king without a nation. A king without a nation is the king. What does that mean if the king doesn't have a nation? he's just like out there in space. It has no practical application. So the fact that we are the ones who bring Hashem into the world is seen as almost a paternal relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's up to us. It's up to us to make sure it works. Bezrat Hashem. Laila tov v'kulam.